Hello and welcome to this new Android development tutorial. This is part 3 of how to make a calendar application for Android. So let's start. In the previous tutorial, we learned how can we get the strings from an array list of strings. We know how to display the corresponding information to each day, but we still have to fix some issues and improve the functionality. Okay, to make sure everything works fine and to check the current state, I will run the application on the emulator. So I am compiling it and running it now. If I switch to the emulator, I can see that I have my calendar right here. If I click on a day, the top three text views state changes, and also the bottom save text and the text input field are shown. Okay, so now, of course, as you know, we want to store some text on every day, right? So if I press in May 1st, for example, and I go and write something there, and I will say, I am May 1st. And I will click on Save Text. Okay, and now let me hide the keyboard. Okay, so now the write something text field is empty because we kind of saved it. But if we go to 2 and then if we go back to 1, as you can see, it says I am May 1st. The problem is, or was actually in the previous tutorial, that when we go to a different day, for example, May 9th, and I'll say I am May 9th, and I click on Save Text, and I go to May 10, then back to May 9, it says I am May 1st. So we have to fix that. So we go to our Android Studio IDE, and we will check the code that is responsible for that. So if we go through the code we wrote in the previous tutorials, specifically on the onCreate method, we first create the calendar view, the first text views, and so on. Then right here we create the calendar strings. So these calendar strings is the place where the text we type with the keyboard is stored. And we also have these days right here. Okay, so we want to be able to fix this in a better way, right? So when we change the date, deselect the date, what we're doing is we are updating the first 3 text views we have on the app. Okay, we are also updating these global variables, which are current year, current month, and current day. Okay, and if the day content is gone, we're showing it. But now here, we're saying if current day equals days at 0, we say text input set text calendar string get 0, which is not exactly what we want to do. Okay, so what do we want to do is the following. So what we want to do first of all, when we save the text, so on the Save Text button, click Listener, we want to do it in a different way. Okay, so for example, we want to have an integer that will tell us how many messages we have stored in our calendar. So we will create a global variable, I think. Yeah, so we will create a global variable. Just below the current day, we will type private int, how can we call this? Maybe day pointer or something like that, or index. Days index actually would be a good name. Days index, and we will set this to 0, right? Okay, so if we go back to our Save Text button, and instead of days 0, what we will do here is we will say days index days index, okay, and we'll set that to current day, right? So this means we know how many items do we have, right? And we have to increment days index in order for us to be able to store the second message and the third one and so on. So after we say days at days index equals current day, we're gonna say days index plus plus, which basically says increment the days index, right? Then we have our calendar strings and we have to add to something. Now, right here, I think we can keep it as it is for now. Later we can change it. But if we go on the onDate change listener, right here, if current day is equal to days, and I have to search actually for the day, if that day exists, on these or not, right? Okay, so how can we do that? Okay, basically current day is the select day. It may be first, second, and so on. So imagine it's May 1st. So we want to know if we have something for May 1st, right? If we have something for May 1st. In this case, what we can also do is maybe use the day, this current day, as an index too, you know? Maybe not. But, okay, let me try to explain this better. If we use, instead of using days index right here, what happens if we say, if we use the current day as the day index? Will that make sense? Yeah, I think so. I think so. But, well, as I told you in the previous tutorial, we have literally tons of ways of accomplishing the same thing. One more efficient than others and so on. So right here, for example, if current day, if we want to do for loop to search, we will do the following. So we're gonna write for int I equals 0, okay, I less than days count or something like that, which in this case we will set it to 30, right, just for simplicity reasons, okay. And after this, we're gonna say I plus plus, okay. So this is basically a very simple for loop, and inside this for loop, what we want to do is we want to check if the index I contains the current day, right? So we're gonna check if days, okay, if days at I equals, actually I forgot the if, so if days at I equals current day, so if days at I equals current day, what you're gonna say is we have something for you, right? And what we're gonna do here will be this. So we'll move this line of code inside here, text input, set text, calendar strings, get, but instead of 0, we have to change this. So you have to get the thing we want. In this case, as the current logic is, it should be days index -1. Okay, so we will put that, and then we will change it later. So day index -1. Is that correct? Yeah, I think so. Okay, so now let's run the app to check if it works or not. Okay. So I'm compiling the app right now, and we will check if it works or not. Okay, so here is the app, and I'll click on May 14, and I will write something. I will say I am May 14th. Okay, and I'll click on Save Text. I'll click on May 15, and I'll write I am May 15. So yeah, I'm seeing that this won't work. If I go back to May 14, it says I'm May 15. Okay. So the problem with this is this -1, which actually works for the first case, but not if we do more than one thing. Okay, so what we have to do here is, first of all, we have to tell it where do we want to add. You know, the calendar strings. We want to add it at a certain point, right? So if we say add, we can check how this add works, and right here, okay, we have index and the string. So the index will be day's index. Would that be correct? I think so. Okay, so day's index, and then we're gonna say input, text input, get text dot to string. Okay, so basically this is what we do, but of course we have to increase these day's index after this. Okay, so make sure this is this way, and here in the for loop, instead of checking the day's index -1, what we will do here is we will check I, okay, if I'm not wrong. So let's now run the app to check if it actually works or not. Okay, so now I'm running the app, and if I click on 8, for example, I would say just put an 8 here and save text, and I go to 9, I'll put a 9 here, save text. If I go back to 8, it says an 8. If I go to 9, it says it's a 9. So now it is actually working. So let's keep testing this. If I go to 10, of course it still says a 9. But what I have to do here is have some logic that will clear. So when I press on something that is not existent, so it doesn't have existing information inside that day, we have to clear this, right? So how do we do that? Well, first of all, in order to optimize the loop and also to enable this logic, we will return here. So after we set text to this, we will say just return. And if it didn't return, what it means is that it didn't found anything to show, so we have to clear the text input. So we're gonna say text input set text and double quotes to clear the text input. Okay, now let's run it again to check if it works. Okay, now we're running it, and May 13, I'll click on it. I'll say write something, I'll say 13. I'll click on save text. Okay, I will go to 14. I'll go back to 13. It says 13. And if I go to 14, then it's empty again, which is exactly what we want. If I go to 14, I click save text. I go to 15 and I write 15 save text. I go back to 14. We have 14, 13. We go back to 12. It's empty because we don't have anything on 12. So 13, 14, 15, 16. It's empty because we haven't wrote anything in 16. So it's working great as far as I can tell. Now, let's go back to the code and try to understand how can this be expanded even further. Okay, so right now we are checking only with 30 characters, because we're kind of having 30 days. But maybe we want to have 31 days or 28 days, so how do we do that? Is there a way in which we can do that? So maybe actually, so you're gonna say, if we say in access this view, and maybe we can get something. So if we go and open the calendar view class and we start scrolling down through it, we can see that it extends frame layout and have some methods. And inside here we can try to understand what this class is capable of doing. Okay, so let me check. So we have week count, get week count, set selected, get selected week background, set focused month date color. So we have lots of possibilities right here. Week number. Okay, we maybe want to get, I don't know if it's possible, but we maybe want to get how many days a month has. So let's see if we can do this. Otherwise, I will let you know in the next tutorial. But let's just check if this is possible to do this here. Okay. Okay. Get bounds for date. I don't think that's it. Configuration change and view delegate. So we're almost at the end of the class now. Okay, I don't think we have that. I don't think we have that. No, so I can say day count. We don't have that. So we will fix that in the next tutorial. I will tell you how to do it. But for now, we will continue with what we were working previously. Okay, so as you know, we have very small logic right here, and we maybe want to clean this up a bit. So we don't really need these 3 text fields here at the top. We can delete them because they were just for testing purposes, and we have tested them and they work great, so we can now delete them. So we're gonna go to our activity main.xml and delete the first 3 text views we have here. Okay, and we have to do that from code too. As you can see, they are not found because we delete them. So we delete these guys too. We also delete this reference to them, that set text and all of that, because we don't really need them. Okay, so now let's run the app to check that everything went good. So let's see. I am building the app right now, so I will wait for it to complete. Okay, it completed. Now it's been installed. I'll switch to the emulator, and as you can see, this is hidden at the top. So now I only have the calendar and my text input field and my save text button, which is great, right? But what if we want to be able to show this save text to the side, like right here, not to the top of this? Okay, so we will go to our activity main.xml, and what we'll do here is we have already a linear layout right here. So what we have, the first thing we have to do is we have to change it from vertical to horizontal. So I'm gonna say horizontal, and we will have to move this button, okay, below the edit text. Okay, so I will actually change just for a moment the visibility from gone to visible, just to see how this works. Okay, so the edit text is occupying the whole width, which of course we don't want. So what we will do instead is we will assign this a weight. So we're going to say width 0 dp and the weight will be set to 1. Okay, and on the save text button, it's also occupying the whole width, which we don't want either. So we maybe want to, if we want to make this a squared kind of button, we can use 40 dp, the same as height, but if we want to make a bit larger or kind of wider, we can maybe use 60 dp, right? So maybe this is what we need right here. Okay, it looks great. But now what we want to do is the height of this edit text is 40 dp and the height of this other thing is also 40 dp. Okay, so let's try to, it's not being reflected here, or it's actually being reflected, I think. Okay, so now let's try to run this, because this preview doesn't work all the time. So we have to make sure we're running this. As you can see here, we have our save button, and I think it looks nicer. Hello, and I click on save, and 14, okay, save, 13, 14, and it's saved. Okay, so it's working as far as we can tell. Okay, so right now basically what a calendar enables you to do is to store information on a day, of a month, of a year, okay? And yeah, basically that's basically how a calendar app operates. Of course, we are far from done, and we have to continue to add more features and more stuff that we haven't done yet. For example, let's try to break the app. So if we go to the app, let me see if I can hide these the keyboard to check it better. So here what we have is that at the top we have the month and the year, and we can use these arrows to change between months and years. Okay, and what we can do is that we are only supporting 1 month at a time, right? So here in May 14, I have this text that if I click save, as you can see, it's saved in May 14. But if I go back to April 3rd, this is cleared. But if I say 14, then it shows what was on May 14, because we're not supporting different months yet. So we have to support different months, right? Okay, so how do we support different months? Okay, first of all, let's go back to the code and check how are we supporting the different days of the same month. So basically, when the date changes, we update these 3 variables, which are current year, current month, and current day. Okay, and here we are only checking for the day. We're not checking for the year or the month, right? So we have to also check for the year and the month. So how do we do that? So maybe we have already something for days. Let's create an array for months. So we're gonna say final int array months, and we'll set it to new int, and of course we have 12 months, so we're gonna set it to 12, right? And we will also create one for years, so final int array years, and this really depends on how many years we want to target. Let's say we only want to show 10 years, which is a lot. So you're gonna say 10 years right there. Okay, awesome. Now we, as you may notice, we have a days index, but we also need a month index and a year index, so we'll do the same. Private int month index, it will also be set to 0, and we're gonna say private int year index, and we also be set these, we will set these to 0. So now that we set all of these to 0, we can do the same logic we are using for days, but then use it with months and years. So right now here, we're checking if the day equals the current day. Okay? But maybe we also want to check if the month equals current month, but we are not saving the month yet, right? So as you can see right here, we have to save the month too. Okay, so basically we're gonna say month index equals to current month. Okay, and also years index equals to current year. Okay, so this is how we are saving this. Okay, and after these, what we're gonna do is the following. So we have days index, and we're increasing days index, so we will also be increasing month index, and we'll also be increasing year index. Okay. Oops, what I just did, sorry. Okay, so we have increased those values right there. And now, right here, I have to create also a for loop inside this. So I'm gonna say for int I equals for int I equals 0, I less than month count, which is 12. Okay, and I say I plus plus. Okay. Oops, I used 2 equals, I only have to use 1. Okay, so inside here, we will check if the month is the current month. So I'm gonna check if months at I equals, so maybe to avoid confusion, we will change from I to J, right? So if months at J equals current month, we will go and copy these 2 lines right here. Text input set text and all of that. Okay, so we're now checking this, and we are also checking the month, but we're not sure this is working. So we're gonna, oops, I'm incrementing I, sorry. Here I have to check if J is less than 12 and J plus plus. Sorry, my bad. And now what we're gonna do here is I will still get I, because we only have 1 set of days, but we can improve that better. Okay, so now I will run this and we will check how it works. Okay, so I have here my activity, and I on May, did I run it? So let me check if I actually run it. So yeah, I run it, but yeah, I was confused because this is shown by default, and we didn't want to do that. So what we want to do instead is hide it again. So we go to activity main. So I forgot to hide this. So I'll set this visibility to gone. Okay. So now I'll run the app again and check. Okay. So on May 13, I will write 13. I'll click on save. I'll go to May 14. I'll write 14. I'll click on save. If I go back to 13, it says 13. If I go to 14, it says 14. If I go to 15, it says nothing. Now what we want to do is let's go to another month, for example April. And if I click April 17, we have nothing, 16, nothing, 15, nothing, 14, nothing. And as you can see, it is not showing the data of May. So if I go back to May 14, and we have 14 and 13, and as you can see now, we have fixed the problem we had previously. Of course, we have a lot to do in order to make this a fully functional calendar application. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I see you in the next one. Bye.